So another important club I know, because I've talked to you about this before, was Club UK in Wandsworth. You know, do you want to talk about that? Because that's one of them clubs that it's a definitely an interesting spot, and obviously it's, like a lot of places it's not there anymore, and quite often I'll be in a car driving through that bit.
It's called. There's some huge complex there now.
Yeah, I mean it's a shopping centre sort of thing, but but we're talking like early 90s to maybe to mid 90s, or
I think it closed about 96 probably. But I used to go, I guess 94, 5, 6 probably. I started going on a Saturday night to the sort of house night. So they had 3 rooms. The main room was always just too housey for me, kind of thing.
Yeah, well, they always had an interesting section of DJ. Yeah, like I said, they'd have the more commercial housey.
Yeah, they'd have on the house side of things, it was always people like, I don't know, Graham Gold and Loved Up and the Biko. There's this guy called Biko, Roy the Roach as well, who used to work in Quaff Records.
Yes,
there's like certain names who were practically residents there.
Yeah, they were more the old school, I don't know, house crew from London.
So they'd all play the kind of the main room, I guess.
Yeah.
And then there was a middle room, which was, I guess, takeovers in there. And then the back room was called the pop art room because it had loads of huge, like, packs of chewits that you could sit on and, like, kind of pop art around the place, like big.
Okay.
I can't remember what else. I remember the chewits and like maybe.
I've got no memory of the chewits.
Cans of Coke or something.
Wow, I don't remember this. All right, I did used to go quite.
They might not have been chewits. They might have been opal fruits.
All right, that's fine.
Okay. But so I'd find myself spending more and more time in the back room, which was full of. It was like house going on techno. I guess. Looking back, probably quite kind of that sort of proggy house and techno, kind of that kind of.
They had some quite crossover. Big DJs though, and techno scene played, didn't they? Like Jeff Mills played there.
But no, this is what I mean. This was Saturday, so Saturday was house.
Saturday.
So I'd go there because I'd gone back into house by that point. Like the hardcore was sort of. Got too fast, got too jungly, got too this, got too that. So I kind of, found house again. And I was like, okay, I'm into this again, kind of, because it echoes of my part.
So if we analyse your record, like, you're saying about analyse people's record collection.
Yeah.
This is when you suddenly had loads of Graham Gold records in your collection.
I don't know if he made records.
No, I don't think he did. I don't know if he ever put anything out.
But I went through a phase, like 1990 was when I basically started buying records, and I had really good records from 1990, 91, 92, 93, and then the quality just I won't start naming names, but fine. I used to take lots of pills and go to this place and listen to what I thought was like really cool, hard banging stuff, and then I'd go to the record shops the next day on a Sunday and like buy all these tunes or like look for them or buy other stuff, probably still with the remnants.
I was going to say,
something.
What was open on a Sunday that you're buying tunes in?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I probably still had the, substances going on around my head as I was in those record shops, and everything probably sounds amazing. So, I've got my record collection from those years, like 94 basically. I think 94, it's fair to say, was pretty dodgy, and I got rid of quite a lot of it, although I've kept certain ones. There was the good end. There was like some good stuff by chance that I still play from time to time, but there was a lot of very poor, cheap sounding kind of crap. And so I started gravitating to the back room, which was like harder. And then someone said to me, I'd go every week pretty much. We'd go with there were about 3 or 4 of us who'd go as a group. And at one point someone said I was just chatting to someone in the back, it was all about chatting to people. And someone said, if you like it in here, you should come on a Friday, because the music in here is like what it is in the main room on Friday, and then it's like a scale. On the Saturday, it's like cheesy main room, almost, you know, housey middle room, harder back room. Whereas on the Friday, it's like harder main room, guest middle room, and then really hard back room. So I was like, okay, right. So I started going on the Friday. And yeah, their lineups were insane. It was called Final Frontier.
Yes,
and
it
was. I remember it was a guy called Paul Shurey who was the Universe. It was Universe.
Yeah, it was Universe who did Tribal Gathering,
exactly,
the big sort of.
So yeah,
festival
they went on
parties,
to do Tribal Gathering, and so it would be, you know, you'd have these lineups like Jeff Mills, Laurent Garnier, Carl Cox. Like just all these DJs now who'd cost you, if you were to book any of them, you wouldn't be able to book two.
No, it was a serious lineup.
You wouldn't be able to book one of them on the same night.
Exactly. It was a serious lineup. Yeah,
it was proper, and yeah, I remember. So a good friend of mine, Ferg, his brothers were like drum and bass bods. There was Optical and Matrix were his two brothers. Like, we all went to the same school, and Matt Optical would say he started going on about Detroit. He kept mentioning sort of Detroit techno and Jeff Mills. I remember, and I was a bit like, oh yeah, what's all Jeff Mills? Who's that? Like, and then I noticed on one of these things, Jeff Mills is playing at Final Frontier. Like, well, we were going to go anyway, so we went there, and I remember we were in the main room, the sort of first room. Then it kind of emptied, and everyone just went in, and I was like, "What's going on?" Someone's like, "Oh, Jeff Mills is going on at 2 or something." I remember going in there and just thinking, like, it was so fast and so hard. It was like, it probably wasn't at all, but to me at the time, it felt really fast and kind of really hard. And I remember being in there for a little bit and then thinking, nah, it's a bit much for me. And then I left, and then over the course of the next sort of few months, I'd spend more and more time in the back room, and I got kind of accustomed to it, and I understood it all, and then that became the addiction. It's like techno, and then that sound system in the room.
He was quite brutal in them sort of days, Jeff Mills.
He was like, I mean, it was hardcore. Like, if you listen to, it was proper like that. I mean, Berlin, the tune Berlin by him, I love that tune, but it was rougher and harder and like...
Well, that whole album, the Waveform Transmissions Volume 1, the black one or whatever it is, that is just brutal bass.
I read that he made that in Berlin on a pair of headphones, where he was living, on a pair of really battered headphones, and that's why all the bottom ends on it are like complete crunch, like there's no kind of like... It's all just like...
Yeah, but it is an incredibly mad, out there record.
Yeah,
and I said it's fucking hard. You know, it's
ravey as well. He used to be really ravey, like. But yeah, I remember being a bit like, hell, this is a bit much. And then, you know how things sort of like just swallow you up.
Well, sometimes it takes. Again, that was the thing with like a new sound. It does take you a while to get your head around it. Like you said, you're thinking, oh, fucking hell, this is a bit mental. And then suddenly you're like, no, actually, I love this.
Yeah, so I completely, over the course of a few months,
You stopped the Saturday nights, you were just...
Saturday nights were long gone. And I became a mad techno head. Like, I was so into it. And like, you know, buying the tunes I was buying started going towards that thing as well. I used to go on my own sometimes if I couldn't persuade anyone. Just jump on the 220, go to Hammersmith, get the 220 up to Wandsworth. Yeah, it was very formative that time, and that sound system as well. It was really.
I remember it being quite a weird sort of venue. There was loads of carpet or stuff like that, or
probably carpet. Yeah,
I don't know, it almost felt like being in a leisure centre or something weird.
Yeah, it was. And I remember more than one occasion, they actually. it used to get so hot in there, they'd open the back doors in the main room everyone would go out there, and you'd be in the Arndale Centre, in the shopping centre. I swear it sounds unbelievable now, and I've said it before to people, and I have to stop and go, hold on, have I just made that up? But no, it did.
I've got a feeling when I went Club UK, I was normally on a lot of substances. That was one of my times when I was actually on the peak rave year. So that my memories of Club UK, I went quite a few times, but I don't remember loads. But I just remember the water bottles with Club UK written on,
branded. I
remember sort of carpet and being in like a leisure centre.
Yeah, it was like that, and so the double doors that I guess it would open, and then you were on the sort of top mezzanine area, balcony of all this shopping centre. And there'd be just like completely munted people like kind of wandering around. I think they probably had ropes, so you could only like walk through this little section, and there'd be security at the door.
Like, have you seen Dawn of the Dead when all the zombies are walking around the shopping centre? Sounds like that.
It was weird because you'd be in this club and then suddenly you'd be in a shopping centre, looking around. And I had many like trippy experiences in that club as well.
Exactly. I think that was more my I think that was my a lot of the E's were really trippy then. So I think my memories of Club UK are very hazy, and I did actually go a lot. But I kind of when you said about the Chewits, I was like, wait, I don't remember that.
I mean, the best / worst thing that happened to me there. It's quite embarrassing, but it's quite funny. I was in the middle room, and I don't know where people I was with, maybe I was even on my own, but there were these two guys who I'd like got talking to, and I'd one on either side of me, and we were all like, just, having that kind of chat, and it was all really like, vibey, and then suddenly the doors from the main room, this door swung open, and this wild-eyed guy came running in with, the sort of torches you get on the walls in Greek mythology films, like burning torches. He came running through, and he had one of them in each hand, and he was like jabbing at dancers, and everyone was like freaking out and like jumping around, and he was coming right at me, and I put my arms out and slammed all three of us, jumped backwards. All three of us ended up on the floor. With me like holding them down, arm over each of their chests, and then I remember sort of looking at them, thinking like, I've just literally saved our lives from this guy who was about to like, and they were looking back at me in complete horror, like, oh my, like we thought we knew you, but we don't know who you are anymore, kind of. And I looked up, and it was just some guy doing funky dancing who'd come through the doors, but there was like loads of light coming through behind him from the main room, and I'd completely just tripped out. And that sort of thing, not quite that bad, but there were a few little things like that, like just getting lost in the smoke machine and kind of forgetting where you were. This is what my memories are of it being that sort of place. It was quite a trippy sort of place. And loads of people I know, like Rob Stowe, Jafar, like loads of lots of people were all like there at Final Frontier who I know now. Like,
it is a mad thing because, like I said, me and Stacey were there quite a lot, so maybe I was the guy with the weird things coming through the door. You never know. Yeah, I was so mortified. I realised it as soon as I looked back up. I kind of understood why they were looking at me like that. Oh God!
And we didn't.
Did you apologise or?
I would have apologised, but I think that was the end of the friendship. I think they were a bit scared. Club UK was, techno, like loud techno education, I'd say, in terms, because they really represented all areas.
I'm not saying they were linked, but and Colin Dale and Colin Faver play there as well, because they were sort of they'd always promote it. So like obviously because they were like ruling the techno.
They were the sort of the acceptable, not the the allowed face of techno on.
Well, they were like the UK
airwaves,
techno dons, and they, you know, they're playing all these really mental tunes, like, you know.
Yeah. Outer Limits was Colin Dale's show,
exactly.
I think. And
you know, they've got, you know, they've got a lot of mentions on this podcast.
Yeah, I'd do the same, like the Kiss FM shows when it was legal. I think after it was legalised, I don't even know what year it was legalised.
1990.
Oh yeah, well it would have been after then. I was listening to their shows, and they represented the whole kind of spectrum really of techno.
Yeah,
and
you know, I mean, I've heard plenty of people on there because I mean, I've still got loads of old tapes of that recorded of like both Colin Faye, Colin Dale. I know I've got ones with Model 500 on. I've got ones with Richie Hawtin on and stuff like that.
Early live sessions.
I don't know if they were like, but it's definitely interviews with him and stuff like that. And I've, you know, because that was the other thing, they'd have interviews on Colin Dale and stuff like that. They'd actually just chat to people, and they'd have I think it was a 3-hour show there. Was it a 3-hour show? I've got a feeling Colin Dale. I think even 1 hour was like the Outer Limits. I think maybe one of the hours.
Yeah, it might have
where they played like the weirder stuff. You know.
Yeah. I was there as well the night it got raided and closed. We were in the queue outside. I think we arrived actually to queue, and there were like 2 or 3 big lorries, like actual lorries with full of police coming out and going in. And that was the end of that. Like I can't remember what actually.
Is that how it ended at Club UK? I can't.
Yeah, it got raided. There was like some weirdness. There was always a bit of controversy about the door people, I think, and it was all linked to some shady stuff.
Well, I mean, that's another story, but I mean, to be honest, the people who run the doors in London clubs and, you know, let's just say the more criminal element involved in all them sort of scenes.
Yeah.
You know, I used to see loads of stuff. Sometimes we were giving out flyers outside clubs, you'd see a different world of stuff than was, and obviously punters coming out all like, you know, happy and delirious. Unaware of maybe all the
who they're standing next to.
Well, yeah, you know. But okay, so you were queuing up, and then you saw them like going away. So
everyone going, them all going in, and then that was.
So what happened? Did you went home, or you? I
think we went to and there were stories that when it had emptied out, the floor was just covered in like little baggies, like everywhere on the floor, like a carpet. But no, that was the night we went to this Parkway Cinema squat party in Camden.
Oh, in Camden, up the hill,
which was Lee Unsound and others. I'm not exactly sure who was there that night. Yeah, that's what, and that was kind of Jiba, United Systems, kind of all that kind of section.
Okay. Was that one of the first squatty ravey parties you went to? Or
I think that was one of the first ones. Yeah, that was also thanks to Matt Optical as well, he used to play on various kind of like Spiral, Jiba as well things, and he was always saying to us, you don't want to go to Club UK, you should come to these things. And like in my mind I had, when he kept saying squat parties, I kept thinking of like, I had this image of like someone in a sort of basement flat with some candles in the room.
It's going to be like the Young Ones or something.
Yeah.
That's loads of like Neil the hippie, like. I used to hate the young. Well, I used to love the Young Ones, but it made me start calling me like Neil because I'm called Neil. They would put like the Neil. Hello, Neil. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah. But we had always sort of like avoided it because I just thought.
Probably loads of lentils and like.
I don't know what I thought. And he would be like, no, they're not like that. It's like, but we never went. And then then we started going, and completely got sucked in by that as well. I remember then by this time I'd already been DJing kind of since 1990, but mainly playing at kind of, like upstairs rooms at pubs and house parties. And
we didn't really talk about you started DJing, so that's where you started, just like odd little sets.
Because it was house parties really. I remember my first gig in a club was in Wardour Street at a club called The Brain, which was this graffiti writer called Cal from Ladbroke Grove. It was his
I went to the Brain. I went to a few nights at the Brain.
Yeah. So,
and that was run by a guy called Sean McCluskey.
Right, well, the guy, I don't know if it was him I met. This is spiralling off, but I had a gig in Newcastle, and there was a guy at the State, or like, was it Newcastle? I think it was. I can't remember. There was like a market near the station, and there was this art stall with loads of really cool kind of paintings, and I was just looking at them. And actually, it was Newcastle because I bought one for my friend Don's wedding, who I was in Newcastle playing at his wedding party, and he did like club pictures, and there was one at the Hacienda, and there was one of the Brain, and I was like, I got Don the Hacienda one, I think, because he's from, up north, but I was like obsessed with this Brain one. I got talking to the guy, and I said, that's actually like, I'm here to play records, and that's, funnily enough, that's the first club I played in, was the Brain. And he was like, that was my club. And I was like, fucking hell, no way. So it was, he's an artist. I don't know if it was...
Was that Wigan?
No, I think it was Newcastle.
No, there's a guy called Wigan.
Oh, right, okay.
There's a guy called Wigan who did, like, funny enough, he did loads of sort of graphics. He was quite, like, and I'm pretty sure, like, the Brain had loads of mad graphics. And he did all the graphics, like this guy Wigan.
I think he might have, like, the album covers and stuff.
Yeah, because they did a couple of albums live.
At the Brain, yeah.
Like, because funny enough, I was chatting to this guy Sean McCluskey, because he ran the leisure lounge and places like that.
I used to go to.
So Sean McCluskey. There's a chance I might speak to Sean on this at some point. But he's got quite a mad history, and we were talking about the Brain, and because I didn't realise that was his night. But so I remember going there in the midweek or something.
The only thing I can remember from it, I was really like nervous because I was playing to like people that weren't people I'd played to before. It was like a public kind of thing.
I think what they specialise in doing live stuff as well at the Brain, 'cause that's why it's live from the Brain.
Yeah.
Because it was a midweek club, and what I remember is they had loads of mad graphics in there because they did it up with like sort of stuff. Because again, my memory's hazy on this sort of thing. That's why I thought there was this guy Wigan, and he did loads of graphics. He was in the Face, and he'd always do this. And he's still doing stuff. He's quite a sort of character. He's been involved in club scenes since the early 80s. And I've got a feeling he did all the graphics in there. But again, I'll cut in some stuff if the stuff does. Because, could be off track. All right, well, that's cool. Anyway, that's a cool like early gig, though, yeah.
And I remember I played Radio Babylon by Meat Beat Manifesto. And I remember people cheered in the crowd. And I was like, and that's when I felt... okay, it's all right, I'm doing good. But so squat parties, and I remember I used to phone up United Systems, which was like the coverall number, 0218195975525, I think it was, or 081 even at that time. And that was, they'd say you'd phone up and they'd go, okay, so, whatever, Jiba and Virus are in Ladbroke Grove at this place, Chiba City, Dubious and Insanity are up there. They'd generally be a South London one, a West London one, and a sort of East or North London one. So that was the one-stop shop. So you'd go to these squat parties, and they were in, obviously not in someone's basement flat, as I'd imagined, but like in...
No, they weren't actually in a squat normally.
Yeah, they were in like, bingo halls and cinemas and schools or colleges or whatever.
Loads of amazing types of spaces.
Yeah, really cool places. And I remember once after going to a few of them, I was like, I really want to play at these, but like, I don't know anyone kind of thing. And, people weren't necessarily... It was the most kind of approachable looking kind of behind the decks and stuff. And I remember phoning United Systems number. I think it was in the afternoon, one afternoon, and someone picked it up and was like, hello? And I was like, fucking hell, I didn't think someone was going to pick it up. And I was like, I just wanted to know where the party's going to be tonight. And he was like, it was James was his name. He was like, you have to phone back after 10. And then I was like, kind of thing, like, while I've got you, kind of thing. Like, I want to play some tunes, like. And he said, you should chat to Jiba. Go and speak to Jiba. They're on tonight. And so that night I went to, met Jake from Jiba. Big shout to Jake. And he was like, I can't remember if I bought records then. I probably didn't. And he was like, bring your records next week. We'll put you on. Like, and then that was the first in like a really long run of just playing on Jiba every weekend for like.
What
years,
was what was their sound based on? What did they have a sound?
Music.
What was Jiba like?
Yeah, they were, for me, they were like the sort of slightly less acid techno. Well, they weren't acid. They did play acid, like some people played on their acid techno, but when I was on there, it was like me, Vicky, who used to work in Ambient Soho, Vicky ITA, Boney Slackburn, R.I.P. again to him, a guy called Paul V, and we were all playing. My mate Rem, James, he came in, and Ferg as well. So it was very much like chunky, like acid and techno and house, but like hard house, but not hard house, like whistles. Kind of Chicago,
not crop tops and like
Chicago house, like kind of. So it was very much a kind of more stodgy, slower techno, like like, you know, D-Jacks, upbeats, kind of Steve, you know, worked that MF. That it was those.
You can say motherfucker on the podcast, Jerome.
Green Velvet, I Want to Leave My Body was like one of the big Jiba tunes, and it was that kind of end of things. Like, really kind of. So it played like there were loads of rigs all playing really hard, fast acid and trancey acid and techno gabba and sort of stuff. So we were. We'd be, and I know Jiba used to be, before I came across them, they used to be more hard as well. But the era I was with them was definitely, that was the kind of thing.
Well,
it
was good at the squat parties when you could have a variety of sound systems.
Yeah.
Because, there was a period, like, after a while when I was going to squat parties, and they literally would all be that super fast shit techno, what I'd call it, where just a do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Yeah. Which is all right for a bit, it's all right maybe if you mash that in your head, but it's quite nice if you can, the time when you go, like, you'd go to a 5-floor party and it'd all be the same system. Yeah. So it's quite nice if you go to a party and then there is a jungle system or there is a techno system or even there's one that's playing loads of old reggae and hip hop and stuff, and so you can have a little, you can get a bit of variety. Yeah,
like we generally did parties with a rig called Virus. So that was like the coupling for like a long time. It was Jiba and Virus. So Virus would be doing like the kind of nosebleed acid, I'd call it. Like just if I heard it now, I'd probably think it was a lot less hardcore than it felt then. But they were like hard acid, and Jiba were like the slightly kind of, a bit hard, but like a bit of a twist, a bit of fun in there as well.
Yeah. Well, you need a bit of contrast anyway.
Yeah, and then we also used to, I used to play a lot for a sound called Chiba City as well, who were predominantly like dub, like proper dub and techno. So it would be dub at the beginning and at the end, and then they had some really good DJs like Tim and Paddy, Tom as well. I'll forget the names. I said I wasn't going to start naming.
No, that's all right. You don't have to name everyone, but
anyway,
like we'll
So Chiba City was another one I'd play for a lot, and Do you
remember any like mad venues that you played in, or any particular sort of nights? Or
I remember the Electric Cinema in Portobello Road. Oh. Got squatted briefly. I don't know what the story was behind it, but it was Jiba and Chiba City joint part. I've got the flyer for that, so I'll send you that.
Cool.
Jiba and Chiba did that one. There was, there was a. I always remember one in like an MOT centre a job centre in Drysdale Street, I think, off Kingston Road. there was job centres. There was the Parkway Cinema. I think that got done again. There was a college somewhere. Oh, they literally blend because it was.
No, it's fine. I mean,
there was a lot of Acton, like Park Royal Industrial Estates. There was one at this building called the Honeywell Bull. Honeywell Bull was the name of the building, and I remember this guy Chris used to do. It was quite short-lived, but he actually sent me some issues I was missing. It was a sort of counterculture magazine of the time called Frontline, and there was loads of kind of literature writing and record reviews as well, and party reviews as well, and he actually did
we've been talking about that as well, because I used to write for Shimmer, which was like the Chillin' FM magazine that John who run Chillin' used to do, and I used to write for Overload, which was like a techno one.
I know, Ali's.
Yeah. So like, and again, there was like a little scene of like fanzines.
Yeah.
You know,
I've been wanting to start one of them, but it's just another thing I'll probably.
Do you know what? That's partly I've had that in the back of my brain, partly from what I'm doing here as well. I do want to kind of do like a written version of it.
Yeah, like the Rupture was like the last.
Yeah, exactly. Rupture.
Really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But no, and obviously you had rave scene and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there was all them sort of. Yeah, like fanzines sort of come back, which again was like the sort of thing that happened during punk and sort of new wave and the guitar-y sort of stuff. But all like the dance sort of scene had it as, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously you had magazines like, you know, what was the Weatherwell one, Boyzone and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. So squat parties. So would you say it was Jiba and Chiba City you're playing?
Yeah, for me it was mainly Jiba and Chiba, and then that went through till like. Don't know, round about 98, 99 maybe, but then in about 98 maybe, I was starting to play more on other like Unsound and then Underground Sound, which was the kind of, I guess it was, there was Immersion, which was more sort of maybe 97 maybe 6, 7, and then Laurie started bringing the rig out less and started curve pressings and curve pusher rather, the cutting house, and was kind of getting less involved. And then I think Underground Sound filled the space a little bit left by that, so all the kind of Chris, Julian and Aaron, Liberators and Henry, Dave the drummer, DDR, all these kind of the acid techno crew would all play on Underground Sound, and I played on there as well. And they were some like that era, Underground Sound, which then in turn kind of birthed sort of Manic, and and there was Malfaiteurs as well, French crew. So that was like between about 99 and 2004 when I left the country to live somewhere else for a while. That was, I'd say, squat party heyday. Like, it was such a special era in terms of community and just packed parties full of smiling people. It was amazing.
Yeah, no, really, I've got really good memories of the squat parties from the 90s, and maybe that's partly because I can't remember loads about it, but I just remember being in these random sort of buildings, and but it was kind of the pre-ketamine era, I guess. For me, that's the big difference when it really. Yeah. And
I mean, there was that going on as well.
I mean, there's always sort of madness going on, but I don't know. Again, I don't know if that is rose-tinted glasses, but I've got a feeling the squat parties were sketchy in the 90s, but there was a lot more people. Yeah,
and it was, the things I remember was that we'd go Saturday night and it would be like lots of acid techno, and then I'd play kind of in between it, and then so gradually started coming later and later on Sunday morning, sleeping, and then setting the alarm for like 7 a.m. or whatever, getting up, going, and then that got later and later. Then they used to go all the way through from Saturday night through to Monday morning, and we'd do the Sunday shift, and then it would be like it would be more techno-y on the Sunday. It would be like me, Rob Stowe would always come play. Henry, Dave the drummer, was doing more of a kind of techno-y thing as well. And they were amazing times. You'd just go there, and you wouldn't even phone anyone to say, "Are you coming here?" You'd just turn up, and it would be the same kind of. It sounds a bit boring actually. The same people there every week in, week out for like, a couple of years. It kind of went on.
No, I know what you mean about the Sunday thing though, because there was a cool thing sometimes, like I said, of turning up on a Sunday morning or something.
Yeah.
And in a lot of times, it would almost be like on the Saturday night, they'd maybe rinsed out all the super really fast acid techno. So on the Sunday, it would be a bit more interesting sometimes.
It was still fast, I guess. I'm
not saying it. To be honest, people were still like really on it, but like so. Let's not go. It was totally
by
like
today's standard. It's probably slow again.
I don't know. I don't know. There's some of that techno that I used to play in the mid-90s, or I even hear like old pirate radio sets I did with some techno, and it is super fast.
Yeah.
Like 160 BPM techno. Well,
I always remember making tapes and thinking I wasn't doing. It was too slow, so I'd be like speeding it up, start again. And you'd listen. It's like when you're playing it, you need to be faster.
Yeah.
But then when I listened to it, I'd be like, "Oh, it's too fast! Like, why did I make it that fast?"
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that was squat party times. Yeah, really, really special for me and for lots of people. And it was a lot of Europeans. It was largely the Italian, the Spanish were like making up the crowds, and there'd be English people there as well. But I always say, if it was just English, they were they'd be around the edges, kind of like just sort of like observing and dancing as well. But it was the Italian and Spanish.
Well, yeah, there kind of was a bit where people would come to London for that scene.
Yeah.
And
then as well, that's how my first kind of overseas gigs came from that, because people go to London, they go to these parties with their friends, then they go back to their own countries. Yeah, then they invite you out to play. So you'd kind of, and that's how it sort of, I guess, spread around a bit. So in about 97, maybe, I'd kind of left West London. I was living in a squat in Homerton in Hackney, and had got like deep into that kind of, that side of things, like the squat culture, I guess, and squat parties, and I'd made lots of new friends over that side from that kind of thing. My girlfriend was in that scene. I met her there at the time, my girlfriend, and I started working in a like a little record stall in a head shop in Camden, and it was called Two Trouser Techno, and it was run by a guy called Tony Two Trousers. Shout to Tony. He used to be a DJ on a sound system.
Right, you got to explain that name. You got to explain that name.
I don't know if
Do you know can. All right, okay.
He probably had. No, I'm not even going to try.
It's all right. Anyway, all right. Shouts to Tony.
It's
all
a
right.
great name, though.
It is a great name.
Yeah.
All right.
So I was working there in Camden, and then round the corner was also a shop called Dragon Disc, which had opened recently, which was run by Rocket Ron, who owned Ambient Soho.
Yeah, we obviously in Rachel's Miss Pink's episode we talked about Rocket.
Yeah.
So is that what he opened after Ambient Soho, was it? Or?
Yeah, Ambient was like there for a while before, and then that was his
well, did that shut and then he opened Dragon Disc?
No, they were both concurrent.
Oh, okay, all right. I didn't realise. Oh, I didn't realise that. Okay, yeah.
So, so Mara Bruiser was working in that shop. It was kind of like her thing, She was the face behind the counter. She was a good friend of mine who I knew from the squat parties and stuff. She's a DJ, great DJ as well. And I think I'd left. Yeah, that's right. I think I was working. Actually, I'd left Two Trouser Techno, or it had closed. I think it had closed, in fact, or been kicked out of the head shop or something. And I was working with my girlfriend at the time in Camden Market on a jewellery stall. And I remember Mara coming round one Sunday, going, "Oh, Jay, she's Brazilian. Shout to Mara." She said, yeah, we need someone in the shop. Do you want to come and work in the shop? And I was like, yeah, of course, man. I'd rather do that than get up at 6 a.m. and
sell jewellery to the tourists.
Say, do you want? You can try it on if you want. You can try it on if you want. You can try it on. It. That was my line there.
Yeah, that's good. No, you're good at that, Jerome.
Guide, thanks. Yeah. So then I started working there, and then gradually took on kind of more responsibility. Began doing all the buying. Kind of Myra then left and went to work at Kinetic, which was another record shop at the time. They started off actually in Goldhawk Road, and that's where that was a record. That was weird because it was kind of a techno shop in West London, like a techno specialist. In about 96, I'd guess they opened, or 7 perhaps. And I remember buying Communique, whatever, Woody McBride's label there. But anyway, so they then moved from there to Little Portland Street off Oxford Street. So Myra went to work there, and I became kind of manager and buyer of Dragon Disc. And got to like really tailor the sort of shop a bit. And when it got to like 99, I guess, 98, 99, I was really sort of becoming very into what I would call it wonky techno at the time, although it wasn't called that. It was called, some people called it Brighton techno, some people called it Edinburgh.
All right, and that's more for the labels, wasn't it? Sativa.
Yes, exactly. Sativa.
Mosquito
was Christian Vogel's label, and then there were lots of other kind of, labels that sprung up. So we used to have a section called Wonky Techno, which was all that stuff in it.
Oh, do you actually have a section in the shop?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you are responsible for calling it Wonky Techno then. Yeah.
That was I hadn't heard it before that.
Okay.
And no one really likes the name. I don't really like the name. Like, I feel a bit embarrassed because I know that people in that camp, shout to Neil Landstrom, shout to other people, they hate that term, and I'm not a particular, it was just what came into my mind at the time label it as such. But and then so Rocket, who owned the shop, also leased the whole building, so he rented out the flat upstairs. And then Grant, who knew Rocket he knew Gay Bikers on Acid, who Rocket was their kind of their DJ really. Rocket would go play at their kind of gigs, and so Rocket got Grant moved in because Grant came down to London from Leicester, and that's where I met Grant. And Grant is Ugly Funk did a party which was very much angled at that same sound, like Landstrom, Vogel, Cybeg, Subhead, that type of thing. And that was quite a thing really for me. It was kind of because it was always a sort of underdog scene, especially in the kind of the acid techno was ruling the squat parties. So almost that's what people want to hear. I guess maybe the majority of the crowds, I guess you said there was a lot of Italian and Spanish, and it was kind of like come to London here banging acid techno. Yeah, they probably don't want to hear some off-kilter beats much. They definitely don't. And I used to call it unpopular techno as a joke. Like if people said, "What sort of music would you play?" I'd say unpopular techno, but like as a badge of honour kind of thing. You know? So then Grant started doing Ugly Funk parties in London, which I became resident at, and that's a kind of connection I still have to this day. Like, he's out in Berlin now.
Yeah, no, shouts to Grant. I do see him in Berlin sometimes.
Yeah, around about 99, 2000, early 2000 perhaps. I'd met up with Rob Stowe, who was another kind of techno DJ who used to play a lot for, what were they called? Rampant was the name of the night, which always made me smile. It was called Rampant, and it was like, and people would always say to me who I met, "Oh, you should, because you don't play acid techno, you play this other sort of techno. You should meet Rob. Like, Rob plays like you. He plays your stuff." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I'd heard his name kind of lots, and people have always said that. And then I met him finally somewhere out, and we hit it off. And then we started doing music together and started playing live sets at kind of techno clubs that were sort of free party run, kind of orientated.
What were your first releases then, actually putting music out yourself, Jerome?
Well, with Rob, he had a label called Gravitation, and we did a record together under the name Groove Asylum in '98 on his label, and then we did another, the one after that, number 3 and 4 were us. And yeah, we were doing a lot of live sets, kind of playing at, I don't know if maybe we played a few squat parties, but they were mainly kind of nights that people who went to squat parties also did the techno clubs.
Yeah.
So we'd do live PAs.
What were you using for the live stuff?
We were using Rob's studio because he had all the gear. Rob was very much, I'm always very careful to make clear, Rob was very much, he knew his way around the studio. I was like, I knew what I liked, but he was the gearhead kind of thing.
Yeah, fair enough.
So we'd bring out his entire studio. So there'd be, I remember, like a computer monitor. There's one similar size to that TV that you can't see. But yeah, big computer monitor, a tower computer, and then a 909, a Nord lead keyboard, and then a rack, like a rack of
Well, no, we talked about this with Giselle, how dangerous it was, like all that gear you're bringing out, like I remember doing the live thing early 2000s at Electroworks, and I brought out my Jupiter 6 and stuff like that. And like, mate, stuff I would never do now, or like some of that gear is just like, and getting loads of people out their head in a squat party around expensive music equipment. But that's good though. At the time, you were sort of and I said proper old school computer, the tower computer, like
it is, and it was, and I always feel bad because I did used to kind of, he'd have to lug it all in from his and set it all up and plug everything in, and I'd often just sort of, time my arrival to miss the hard work.
Okay, sounds like you didn't feel that bad about it, Jerome. Then exactly. Yeah. Did you sneak off early when it was time to take it home?
No, I'm sure I would have never done such a thing.
Okay. No, we had all words for that for the people on the sound systems who would always disappear, but with like
shirkers.
Well, it's just more like at the end of a long party when it's time to take the speakers.
Goal hangers.
Yeah, that's all right. I'm sure I've disappeared a few times with you. Like,
I mean, not all the time.
No, not all the time. There are times when it's like you're in no fit state to do anything, but.
But we had some good gear. We once played at the Brixton Academy. In fact, there was a big charity event organised by, I think it was JP, who did Malfateur's sound system.
Okay, yeah.
So can actually say we played live at Brixton Academy.
Right, nice.
And so then I started Don't, the label, which was because we'd been writing these tunes and tracks and playing them out, and one in particular was going kind of, always seemed to get a good reaction, and that was a track called, ended up being called Riffin', and it was again sampling Props and Shouts and RIP to MC Duke, sampling that, and I used to scratch the a cappella in over.
He's like the funky drummer or the aim and break of like the hip hop a cappella.
Exactly.
It's been sampled so much,
He has, So that became the first. We decided we were going to release that. So
what made you think that he was doing a label, so you just thought I want to do my own label now, like your own thing?
Like Gravitation was a more kind of a straighter, not straighter, but like a purist kind of techno label, I guess. Like that Rob's always been very into the sort of I'm trying to think. Well, he's a complete Mills head, and and everything that's considered pure techno kind of thing.
Yeah, that Detroit sound.
Whereas I was a bit more, can I say the word mongrel?
Yeah, mongrel? You can. Yeah, there's nothing right with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was a bit more of a mongrel musically, and I kind of wanted. Yeah, I wanted it. I think, in fact, the aim of the label was to annoy techno purists. I remember writing that at some point as well.
Well, do you know? Yeah, well, funny, I've talked about my first release on Unearthly, I think on the Scratch Out. I put fuck the purists.
Okay,
yeah. And I loved all the purist techno stuff and all that sort of stuff. But again, at the same time, I used to hate all them fuckers just going on about how
like I felt it could be quite sort of narrowing or like quite restrictive.
Yeah, well, do you know what? Maybe we're going back to like the early rock and roll stuff, a little rawness about it, having that little energy.
Yeah.
You know, because I will say again, I try not to use the wonky techno word, but like some of them tunes did have a bit more of like an edge and a sort of fucked up groove to them. I mean, I didn't like all the wonky stuff. I loved some of it. And
no, definitely they were very innovative, a lot of the records, and interesting as well, and just kind of punky and sort of
there's definitely a bit more punky sort of attitude of like
stunted. Like there's loads of terms I'd use to kind of
stunted is a good word.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to talk a little bit about why you chose the name Don't for your label then?
The name Don't was funny. It was between like when we got the record ready. I remember we were like, oh, we need to have a label for the record, like, or we could do a white label, and I was adamant that we'd put the words Groove Asylum in big letters on one side, and so that would be like the thing people saw and that stuck in people's minds. And then Rob had this. Do you remember those little troll dolls?
Yes, I do. Yeah, with the bright hair.
Yeah.
Fizzy,
He had one of them in his studio, and we just took a picture of it. And that, for some reason, we're like, well, what can we put on it? Oh, let's put that. We took a picture. That ended up, we twisted it a bit in, I guess, Photoshop or something, and that became the image. And then put a Don't, which I decided on the name would be Don't, and it was between Don't and Weird Records was going to be another name, which I'm really glad I didn't choose. But because I worked in the record shop, I liked the idea of people having to ask for weird records in a record shop. I thought that was quite funny, but probably would have been funny for
that's always the problem if you do a comedy name. The joke normally wears off after about a week, and then you're like, shit, I'm stuck with this now.
So we put Don't. I put Don't on the label, but I wasn't aware of label bleed areas for so it actually says Don, and then there's like half the T's. You can sort of make out it's a T, but it's a bit cut. Right. It's really quite a shoddy label.
Yeah, poor graphic design skills. But that's fine.
And then so it was called Don't. The three reasons. Firstly, it was I'd been getting kind of quite druggy, you know, not bad drugs, but like constant drugs, I guess. And that's not bad drugs. It depends on your.
I guess what's fair to say, like again, we've all had that. I mean, I would say in the 90s I was a raver and I was going to all sorts of parties, and that was the time when I did lots of stuff, which I'm not ashamed that I did it. Yeah. But there come the point where I had to stop doing that stuff, otherwise I couldn't really function anymore. And like anything, it's can you have too much fun, or maybe you can't, maybe you can't, maybe you can. But you can't be doing that stuff all the time.
What's fun? And like it kind of started off, I was all about the music, and then obviously you dabble, and then it kind of did it. It's like there was a quote I read about maybe it's like a sort of just one of those things people reference, a motorcycle club who were into drinking, who'd meet up afterwards to drink, over time become a drinking club who are into motorcycles. And it's a bit like that with the drugs thing. Like I kind of would realise, oh God, I'm like, you know, I'm just relying on it now too much. Occasionally, you know, at these squat parties, they were very drug environments. You'd have people like, you know, people would just pull your records out of they'd open a random record bag behind the thing, take it out, rack up a load of lines of whatever, and be walking around like you'd do a line, then like 10 minutes later someone else would be round and you'd do another, and you'd sort of forget how much you were doing, and quite a few times I had this sensation of like being like drowning basically in in drugs, I guess. Like suddenly I felt like the water level was like rising over my nose kind of thing, and I felt really like I was going to die. So that was one of the reasons it was called Don't, was as a message to myself.
Yeah, like, a little mental reminder,
Yeah, don't say, just don't do it. Don't accept it. Like, just say...
Because didn't you have some health problems at this time? I mean, we don't have to go too deep into this, but like...
Yeah, well, it wasn't really health problems. It was me doing lots of drugs.
Yeah.
And then I had... I mean, it's complicated. It was a heart attack. It was a heart attack when I went in. They, like, the next day they said, you've had a heart attack. And I was like, oh, fuck. Like, it felt like that. Something blocked in my chest and something blowing. Anyway, so I was in hospital for about a week. That was afterwards. That was 2001. So that was a year after I'd started Don't. So I obviously...
Okay, so you had the name before that. Oh, okay.
I had the name before.
So you had the idea.
And it was a message to myself, which I ignored because...
Right.
You ignore stuff.
Sometimes you ignore it until you get that little scare.
Yeah, and that was my big scare, because that was the last time I've done drugs, was then in 2001. So I've been, I drink still alcohol, so I can't claim to be holy.
No, for sure.
Kind of thing, which is in a way the worst one anyway. But
no,
that was the end of my drugs, which it seems like such a major part of my life, but in reality it was from like 15 to 26. I was 26 when that happened. So that's young for like a lot of people to be stopping.
No,
I was speaking about this with someone yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's so normalised, the drugs, and like you can always look to your left and you'll see someone who's like doing more than you, or in a worse state, or like more reliant on it, and you can always use that to sort of say, oh, well, yeah, all right, I'm probably doing a bit too much, but at least I'm not like that person.
At least I'm not that guy. Or girl. But like, but then maybe there's a point when you are that person.
Yeah. Well, there'll be someone.
Or they're looking at you,
going, at least I'm. Exactly. And I've no doubt that happened. Like I'd do it.
Well, you did. Well, obviously, some people don't stop, and obviously, we do know a few of our mates who we both know over the years are not here anymore. And they have died from doing drugs, and. Like I said, we both come from the rave party warehouse scene, and had loads of fun times getting fucked up. But at the same time, you can't. This is what I said. This is what I said to Giselle. I said, actually, you can't stay up forever. You could try, but no, you can't. There's a bit where you have to get some sleep eventually.
You do,
Unfortunately, you can't stay up forever.
Sleep when you're dead, as they say.
Yeah. All right. So that was one of it, and and again, I'm glad you did that, Jerome, and you're with us now.
Yeah. Well, it was a real wake up, and I wasn't doing. I was kind of doing little bits, but constantly. Like while I was at the shop, I'd be doing little bits. So just. You get kind of used to it, and I felt like it gave my life like a little bit of an interesting edge or something like that, I guess, from what I remember. But so anyway, that was that, and I came out.
So you said there was 3 reasons, so what else was there?
Oh yeah, and the other reason, there was a tune I used to play a lot, which kind of summed up everything I loved about the type of techno I was into, and it was a remix of Christian Vogel by Jamie Liddell called Don't Take More, and there was a part in it that just says the word don't really quickly over and over. Anyway, it's one of the ones I used to play and like ride it in a mix, like have a kind of more straighter techno tune underneath, and then switch the basses between this broken mad tune, and then slam in the kind of straight bit for a bit. So that was that tune. And it was don't take drugs, you fool, and it was that tune don't. Oh, and the main reason really was because I wanted to put out the music like that I'd play, where certain other DJs or like people, it would be a bit like, oh, don't play. Look, we've got like a really like good dance floor. Don't risk playing that one. Like, and you know, that's the sort of music I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be tunes that can either make the whole night really, really special and amazing, if done right. But if done wrong, or if you're unlucky with some little parameter, it could ruin everything and like clear everything, and it would just be like people go, I don't think he even knows what he's doing. Like, what's this tune about? Like, that.
Don't listen to Jerome.
It was like it was like meant to be like the music that they don't want you to play, but you should play. And I still believe that with like techno and stuff. I think you should be kind of take risks.
Well, I don't think just techno. I think like I say about you, like you do go all over the shop sometimes in a good way, as in you will dig out, that's part of your, you will dig out the odd little, weird funk or disco or some random tune, or you play the Greek one, don't you? Or you used to play that.
Oh, Zorba,
Zorba the Greek, that was always a big
I play a lot of sets that are only that music as well, so like disco, funk, disco
exactly.
So much, but funk and old school hip hop.
Yeah, sure.
And Zorba and stuff.
Yeah.
I remember Grant coming up to me really sort of gingerly at an Ugly Funk party going, Jerome, do you reckon you're going to play any techno? Because I was just playing like ragga and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know, got into just, I don't know why I used to do that. Just really kind of getting off on not playing what people wanted to hear.
Such a self-indulgent DJ, Jerome.
It is a bit self-indulgent.
No, to be honest,
I think I've got a balance of it.
No, do you know what? It's a good one. Again, like you said, it is a balance with that stuff, because obviously, if you totally destroy the dance floor, and you've everyone's, then you know what I mean.
And I must say as well, just to to any potential promoters watching, I've had like however many years experience since then. So I think in those days I maybe used to push it too far sometimes, but I think I've got a good...
but do you know what? It is a sign of a good DJ where you pull out some random stuff, and then the crowd is like, what the fuck is this? And again, it can be dangerous, but then you know what? You can pull it back. Like I said, you've been doing it long enough to know. Again, that's part of a DJ, is watching the crowd and trying it and going, all right, are they digging this? Is everyone suddenly headed to the bar? Like, look,
you learn to tell. I can tell whether you can even do little signifiers or like just little things that will like give you a sign whether people are going to be responsive to the big thing that you might want to do.
No, exactly.
And
so I know, like I said, like a good DJ will bring it back or be able to do that.
And it's all confidence. Playing like outside of the expectations, it's purely, if you do it, like if anyone does it, I don't think I've ever been at a party where someone like does something and then everyone's like, what the fuck. It's usually like 9 times out of 10 it will be like, whoa, like listen to that, like
well, sometimes it's good when it's getting a bit too safe and everyone's just a bit like nodding their heads, or everyone's a bit like, and I remember mixing tunes to be like, you're a little bit like, oh, okay, you're a little bit nervous because you're like, okay, all right, I'm going to mix it in. How's this one going to go? And then it can either be like, shit, or totally fucked it, or like, suddenly people going like, think you're a genius and like going crazy.
It's that moment, that's where the experience comes in, I guess, is like judging whether it's the right time for something and having the confidence to like believe that it's going to go well. And I don't know, I guess it depends where you're standing from what sort of feedback you kind of, I'm sure there'll be people like who just want to listen to sort of whatever Adam Bayer records,
I know, but
loopy techno.
No, exactly. All right, so you started Don't Records, all right, so so that's, it's been going over 20 years now. So
24 years.
Nice.
This year, 40, probably like 50 releases in total, including the limited ones.
Amazing.
And then there've been Super Rhythm Tracks. Fat Hop started before in 2008 or 9 ish, I think.
So we can look in Discogs for the years. That's fine. Discogs
and that was like to scratch my kind of hip hop b-boy.
All right, so we talked a little bit of that earlier on, but like, kind of that was just more like your hip hop party cut up sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, what I quite like about some of the tunes is like you've got like the ones that are basically hip hop cut ups, like I said, a bit like Cold Cut, but they've got some rave tunes in there as well.
Yeah, yeah. It was meant to be a bit of a melding with some, some kind of cross between the two.
And I've got a big love of the late 80s, sort of like the Cold Cut when there's loads of them records coming out, and a good bootleg cut up record which they normally sell under the counter. Was
and one of like my biggest one for me, the biggest tune of that era, which I should give props to because it's a huge influence on me, was on the Bomb the Bass album. There was a track, oh God, I'm going to forget the name of the track now. It's called On the Cut, and it's like a little track which is just like the tune I mentioned earlier, the Power Cuts 2. That's really similar, that's faster, but it's that thing of like just really having it kind of b-boy breaks, scooting along with like little scratches and kind of funny samples coming in. And
again, in a way, like the early hardcore rave stuff was kind of when people got a sampler, that the breaks had sped up, but they were just adding all sorts of weird samples over the top. So they were kind of a bit like them records, the early ones that were just, like you said, some breakbeat, potentially out of time on the loop, with like some mad samples cut up from other sort of stuff. So they were cut and paste with breakbeats, if you like, sped up a bit.
No, that's it. So that was Fat Hop, and then Hornsey Hardcore came a bit later, the label, maybe 2012 possibly was the first one. That was quite a slow burner. There's only been like 6 records, I think, and one was on Sneaker Social Club on a different label. But that's purely the absorbed in 92 and spat out in the 2000s kind of thing. But trying to keep it rough and kind of not using any studio trickery. Not that I'm that much of a studio trickster anyway.
No, I like the one that's got the Cliff Thorburn sample in it. That's
Thanks. Cliff.
It's time to make the Thorburn, and then you cut in Cliff Thorburn.
Thank you.
That's always a particular bit of.
You can imagine my smugness when I kind of managed to squeeze that in.
No, I mean that was a dedication, because I'm not sure how much of the Hornsey Hardcore crowd were fans of early 80s snooker, but like I like it when people put in a reference that it's almost kind of too obscure. But like if like a few people,
2 people will get.
If 2 people get it,
I've had a couple of people have messaged me about that actually. So that's nice that it landed for 3 of you.
Exactly. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so you got Super Rhythm Tracks as well, and that's, how do you describe that? That's a bit more the
Super Rhythm Tracks was kind of was very much angled at the kind of quite. I always say it's quite kind of wild sort of techno or crazy, but not super fast, just quite extreme ideas, like the riffs in the tunes. I always go for quite, like when I'm putting other people's stuff out, I'm attracted to the sort of really strong, like I say, riffs and ideas that can either be really, really memorable and make a night, or can maybe, like, you are a bit Marmitey, maybe you'll either really get into it.
Well, I think that's a fair way to put it.
Yeah, it's sort of fully commits. I like to think anyway. So Super Rhythm Tracks was like a lot of stuff I wanted to put out and make was a little bit too, don't want to say tame, but like not quite mad enough for don't.
I'd say it's a bit more like the housey techno-y acid.
Yeah.
And it's not straight ahead. It's obviously not totally straight ahead, but it
was influenced by that, 89 period, 90 even, and the first record on it was a guy called Mike Ash, who used to record on Moving Shadow and Rising High, as he was Mash 3D on Moving Shadow, and he was Toy Town EP was one of his.
Classic.
And Rising High. And
that was a big record for me in the States. Like the Godzilla is now in New York City.
Exactly, that one.
That's one of my favourite from that time. You'd always drop that.
And I Ain't Gonna Wait No More.
Yeah, exactly.
Was like the big one.
No, exactly. Yeah, that break when it kicks in is.
And he did lots of. I think he was he Pink and Purple Experience or so. He did a few on. Yeah, I can't remember who. Buggy. No, I won't try and guess. But he did lots of stuff. So he had. Yeah, some tracks on his SoundCloud which just popped up, and I just got in touch and said, "Can I put these out? I'm starting a new label," and so that was number one. I sometimes think the Matt Whitehead and Neil Landstrom record, Don't 20, that should have been the first one on Super Rhythm Tracks. It would have fitted. Yeah,
do you know what? I mean, I loved, to be honest. There's the Matt Whitehead ones and that I love. Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, is that the one? It's got like some. I think it has. It's got the weird like 80s. Sounds like Paul Hardcastle.
The electro track.
Bombing.
That's a later EP.
Is it a later one? Okay, I'm getting mixed up. Yeah. But I love that tune because to me, he basically it's him doing Paul Hardcastle basically.
He's amazing, man. And he's got this knack for just really nailing sounds. Like really does it well.
Well, do you know what he sent me? I don't know if he sent you, but he sent me all these like MIDI files he did of classic acid house tunes that I put into.
Oh, really?
That I put into the Circle-On, and just like the way he's done the notes. So it sounds like Mike Dunn and all these future.
Okay, all right, I'm going to hit them up for them.
No, exactly. No, I was playing it for my 303, and it was like and the 808, and it's like you play.
Yeah,
sounds close to the original sound.
He's really good. Yeah.
But he only. I love that tune. It's got a certain sound. Bombing, I think. It's got such a and attention to detail.
Yeah.
And like sometimes if you're trying to copy a sound or a style, it can be like, all right, cool. You just it's almost like the way he's done. Anyway, I'm probably gushing too much on that tune. I do love that tune.
Oh, good. Yeah. That was the number 15 or something. I think. I have a feeling. Yeah. So Super Rhythm Tracks it's still going.
Well, you're still releasing stuff on vinyl, aren't you? I know it's harder and harder with vinyl. Just about. I mean, everyone is doing vinyl. I've been saying this for the last 20 years, just about. But it's getting even harder and harder.
It's getting so expensive, and just like sales are kind of, the more we're hemorrhaging people to digital, like constantly, because the prices are so, it's a...
I mean, I know you do play in digital as well. You're not...
I play a lot of digital.
You're not strictly vinyl DJ, but...
Yeah, not these days. I mean, I don't have the money to be a strictly vinyl DJ, but like buy all the techno that's coming out that I want to play. I'd have absolutely no money at all. I'd be in debt if I was.
Well, no, this is the crazy thing, because I know loads of us who actually have been and still are vinyl junkies, but even us lot are like, I can't be spending like.
No, I'm still a vinyl junkie. Definitely. Like, I've got back into buying loads of stuff on 7 now, and I'm trying to seek out all my kind of hip-hoppy funk stuff that I've got on 12 only, trying to find them on 7 and discovering new stuff on 7. So that's a whole other.
That's a more niche. I think I told you I got these Enjoy records from the.
Oh yeah, you did.
In the States. They were from the basement. Someone dug them out of the basement of. I think it's Bobby Robinson, who was the other Robinson.
Oh right. Okay.
Who ran Enjoy, not Sylvia Robinson.
Okay.
Yeah, it's from his base.
Fearless 4.
One of them has got. No, it's got. I've got a Treacherous 3 one on 7-inch, and it's Enjoy with the middle punched out.
Yeah.
And a super rapping Grandmaster Flash, which is kind of super rare. Yeah. Nice. 1979 hip hop on like 7-inch. Yeah.
Yeah, I just something about the 7s, and they just take up so much less space.
Yeah,
that's the main.
Yeah, that's kind of true until you have like hundreds and thousands of them. Yeah. So what are you up to now, Jerome? Like,
I'm literally just getting ready the next bunch of releases for Don't and Super Rhythm Tracks, and I'm about to go through a big record collection I've just bought. Incidentally, I buy and sell record collections, so if you've got records stored away in your loft that you don't want anymore, let me give you some money for them, get in touch. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. Yeah, music-y stuff and surviving life, I guess. Yeah.
Right, I think we went in deep there. Everything from Shakin' Stevens, rock and roll, acid house, rave, hip hop, all sorts of stuff. Been a pleasure speaking to you the last few hours, Jerome.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, and yeah, thanks for doing the podcast, because I've watched quite a lot of them, and they really enjoyable.
Cheers, Jerome. Been a pleasure, mate. All right, I'll shake your hand.
Cheers. Thanks.
Cheers.